Welcome to Stitches in Time, the podcast discussing Doctor Who the way it was meant to be watched, in chronological order, one clip at a time, starting at the Big Bang and ending with the heat death of the universe. I'm Becca, the Matrix Archivist, and I spent the last 12 years of my life meticulously editing the entire televised Doctor Who universe into chronological order.
And I'm Mandy, and when I show up to a friend's place and then that friend isn't there, I just leave. I guess I'm a little different than the English. I don't know what their polite rules are.
Yeah, if there's one thing we know about the English is that they're known for being extremely rude and just overstaying their welcome and everything.
Yeah.
I do have to know, Mandy, has that ever happened to you? Have you ever gone to a friend's house and they're not there?
Yeah, all the time. Like, you remember what it was like before we all had cell phones and you just had to show up to
That's
somebody's
true.
place and you would knock, and I had to, my thing, because I would actually leave too soon. And so my mom had to teach me to, like, when you go to the door and you knock or you ring the doorbell, you got to count to 30. And then afterward you can, because I didn't know, I would either leave too quickly and then they would open the door while I was like halfway down the hill. My friend lived on a hill. I was halfway down the hill, or I would literally be out there for like 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes, just like waiting. It was like, well, that's wrong. You shouldn't just wait there. And you certainly
should go
not
inside and sit down with whoever else is there that you're not attempting to see, and just chat about stuff for a while.
Just tell a story.
Yeah. And
but not like with any details.
Of course not. No. And also joining us, once again, you've heard them as the GM on the Game of Rassilon Doctor Who RPG podcast. You've heard their voice and writing on the sci-fi comedy audio drama Jump Leads, and you're about to hear them on the brand new RPG podcast Good Chaotic. And most importantly, you've heard them as the, dare I say, official arch nemesis of the Stitches in Time podcast. Please welcome back to the show, Ben Paddon.
I think the thing that really codifies the fact that I am the reverse Becca in this situation is the fact that I am lit from behind and will be spending most of this episode for the video feed in kind of a silhouette, which I have augmented a little bit with some gay pride Disneyland Mickey ears. Happy Pride Month, everyone.
Happy Pride Month, and thank you to the Walt Disney Company for sponsoring our podcast.
And you're making a joke, but it is bisexual Pride Month, so part of the umbrella, it's really there. I am dressed like this, and I actually need to stop because I am choking myself with my own hood, but it actually is giving me a little anxiety because there is not enough oxygen going to my brain right now.
That's reasonable.
I thought I would wear the Mickey ears because I think the main thing I've learned from appearing on this podcast and listening to it, I do listen to the podcast as it goes out each week because I need to know what to be angry about.
Sure.
But I think the main thing I've learned is that time has no goddamn meaning on this show. You have one very strict interpretation of what time be, and you're not open.
The correct way.
See,
that's the language of the oppressor. That is the language of the hateful. You won't even open your mind to the possibility that time may in fact be like a great big ball of some kind of something or other.
I really thought you were going to refer to it as a great big bushy beard.
People think that time is a linear line of cause and effect, but really, it's a great big bushy beard. Fun fact, Blink and Hot Fuzz did come out in the same year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So does that mean that the Cornetto trilogy also has to be edited into this?
Yes.
Shit.
Yes, it does. The only movie that's really affected by the linear edit is there's going to be bits of The World's End at the very beginning, and then Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and then the rest of The World's End.
Right.
Yeah.
that kind of implies that, Becker, you just have to put in any movie at the proper time.
Any movie that we discuss on this podcast, we have to put in. Is even referenced to in passing.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Patreon to hear bonus episodes where Mandy and Becca will watch Planet of the Apes in chronological order, to it basically the release order, more or less, with some caveats.
I don't know, because they're like the ones that are coming out now are like all sort of prequels to the original.
Yeah, it's mostly prequels.
Line.
My next pitch was going to be Bill and Ted, but you would have to cut out most of Bogus Journey because it takes place on a plane outside of space and time, by which I mean, of course, the afterlife. So they would be dead and then they'd be alive again with some guys with them, is basically how that would
go. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Because as we all know, heaven is constantly moving through the time vortex, and therefore,
yeah. There's in actually this people don't know this about, but since this is a Christian religion podcast, also people don't know this about heaven, but there is actually a TARDIS console right in the middle where the and the column is just constantly moving up and down.
Canonically, one of the names for the many time wars that happened was the War in Heaven. And now we know why.
Were there any deaths in heaven?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm taking a little offense here because I would not say that this is a Christian podcast. We do not share our own religious views. We just know that the Doctor is Christian because they're adhering to the Christian calendar.
Right. Yeah. Okay, that's...
Have we thus far been able to nail down specifically which denomination of Christianity?
I don't think so, but that is a good, that's something good to keep in mind for...
Something to look out for, listeners.
Future. I mean, we are still talking about several million years BC, so most religions haven't even come out yet.
Or if they have, they haven't yet come out in paperback.
Yeah. It's just a bunch of monks scribbling away in a castle somewhere, until somebody got to get a printing press. Hey, monks! How about a Segway?
Monks on Segways.
I gotta be honest. I'm not entirely sure that I watched the right thing because I have no idea who any of these people are. I recognize the background.
Right. That is true. This is the first time we've seen either of these people. Even though they're super old, we have not seen them yet in this Stitch in Time edit, which is once again happening. Yes, for our listeners, today we're talking about the Time Meddler, but just once again, just the Tales of the TARDIS intro and outro.
The bookends, if you
parts. Like. Yeah, the bookends. I do like.
You look great on it.
Wish.
No, you do, Vicki. The years have been good to us.
Oh, I've had the most marvelous life.
We're really spending a lot of time in the Remembered TARDIS. We've just kind of had a lot of segments within it of them journey and discussing things that will happen. So if anything, it's not really the Remembered TARDIS. It is the Premonition TARDIS.
It's the foreshadowing TARDIS.
Yeah.
The TARDIS of ominous foreboding. Yes.
The only time that it's been a Remembered TARDIS is when they were talking about when they killed that boy.
Then it was an in remembrance TARDIS. Although I will say, actually, the end credits on the Earthshock Tales of the TARDIS is the only time Earthshock has been played with credits that had music playing over the background, just from a production perspective. Because if you watch Earthshock, they roll the credits in silence, which is, I think, supposed to be like marking the occasion a character has died, but it just comes across as deeply funny to me. It's a traditional in British television shows. If a character dies, it's not uncommon for that show to then roll the credits in silence. Grange Hill, which was a British kids soap about a school, did that. EastEnders goes the other way. They put more music before the drum beats and the end credits. Earthshock is not the story we're talking about, so I don't know why I'm contributing any of this information. I do have a thought about the remembered TARDIS.
We did recently talk about Earthshock, both the Tales of the TARDIS and also the bit where Adric dies.
Yay!
Yeah. Yeah, so this is the this is episode 23, I think, of the podcast, and it's already the third Tales of the TARDIS we're discussing, which is very silly to me.
And so we get two old people who showed up expecting to see the doctor, but the doctor was busy remembering the TARDIS with other people. They're not important. I would be a little offended if this was my Tales of the TARDIS episode. And like, we're not even going to have a doctor. I want to say one of them is named Vicki.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the other one is like Paul.
Oh,
Paul.
That's so far off the mark.
I mean, the actor's name is Peter, which is
if I'm just gonna guess
terrible.
the name of a British person, I would call them Peter.
Start with Colin and then work your way forwards in the alphabet. That's really the way to go with British names. But this is Stephen, who's a king, I guess.
That's like Paul.
In that it's a name that a person could have? Absolutely. You're 100% correct.
It's the same type of name.
Yeah, it's made of letters.
If you imagine somebody named Stephen.
Done.
And I said, imagine somebody named Paul.
Okay.
That's the same guy.
No, those are very different people.
No.
That's the same guy. I'm picturing the same guy.
No, because I'm picturing Stephen has like a square head with like tight curly brown hair. And Paul is in prison for credit card fraud.
Oh, I'm picturing very specific people. I'm picturing Stephen McCartney and Paul Fry.
So close.
Now I'm starting to understand.
They're old British people.
They are old British people.
Yeah.
We look exactly the same. Hence my point. It's the same name.
I think the thing I like about Stephen Fry is he has like, you know how Mickey Mouse's ears are always facing the same direction regardless of how he's drawn? Stephen Fry's nose is kind of like that.
It's always pointed slightly to his left.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, it's such an endearing physical trait that I am sure he's either like accepted it as part of his character and charm, or he has an insecurity about it, because when you have any kind of facial, situation going on, you either hyper focus on it for the rest of your life, or you're like, yeah, this is part of who I am. I hope it's something he's openly accepting of, and it's not something he's insecure about, because I personally love it. I make fun of it because I think it's a wonderful. It's part of the geography of his face, and I love it.
Yeah, it was nice. But why don't we talk about some people who we've watched on this episode of?
Oh God, this is one of those
so
podcasts.
we've got Vicki,
Mm-hmm.
and she's like, she looks at a clock and is like, oh, and now I know where I am, which again invites the fact that we never see these people enter this room. They're just here, and then it's also implied that maybe they've always been here, and I don't like the kind of horror vibes that I get from the Remembered TARDIS, because they're just like, they're suddenly here and they don't know where they are, but they're not too worried about it. Like, it manipulates them into not being as terrified as they should be, and then as they sit and they they remember something and everything changes and the world suddenly like closes in on them as they have a memory that we don't get to see. I told Ben it reminded me of whenever I start getting a migraine and my vision starts going out the sides like this. But then I take my medication in time so that the migraine goes away and expands again. And then they've told their memory and they're like, and now we live here. We can't go. I think we've always been here.
Yeah. Although they do talk about, they both like definitely have lives outside of themselves, or the outside of this room, it seems, at least.
Yeah, Vicki makes olives.
Mm-hmm. and Steven's a king. Now, is that something we saw in the show or in any... Ben, you would probably know better than I do about...
This is a very good question. Thank you for sharing.
I would say that it doesn't actually matter because we haven't seen it yet.
I do
what
not
they will
know,
have done.
I don't know how Stephen departs the TARDIS because I think his departure is one of the
forgettable things.
One of the missing episodes.
It is. It's one of the missing. Yes, it's
yeah.
I think it's.
Yeah,
I believe it's called The Savages, which is also like not a title that anybody's like, oh yeah, we have to remake this serial called The Savage. Oh wait, maybe we shouldn't do this.
Yeah. But the corollary of that is Vicky's departure I'm very familiar with because even though the episodes for that serial are missing, it was written by someone, I don't forget the writer's name, so apologies to any listeners out there screaming into their... It was Paul,
I'll find it.
It was Paul McCartney. Vicky departs in a story, I believe she departs in a story called The Mythmakers, and the writer of the story had traditionally written for radio. So The Mythmakers is one of those missing Doctor Who stories that we had the audio from thanks to fans back in the day, just recording the audio straight out of their televisions.
Yeah.
And it's one of those ones that works really well when you're just listening to it.
I did the same thing with an episode of Spongebob. It was the musical episode of Spongebob, and I had one of those little like karaoke recording machines, and I just recorded all the music from it. So if that episode of Spongebob ever gets lost, which I believe the whole marketing for it was that it was marketed as a lost Spongebob episode, and so I was recording it. So
is that why you felt like you had to record it?
I had to make sure that I kept it.
Yeah.
On its legacy.
We'll send that audio to Big Finish and maybe they'll do SpongeBob's an animated show, so I feel like they should do a live action remake of that episode of SpongeBob SquarePants.
Perfect.
Donald Cotton was the writer of that.
Cotton
of the Mythmakers.
Big into vapes. It was his pen name. Because he was a noted vape enthusiast.
So Mandy, I have to ask, because again, this is a story about people talking about a Doctor Who story. Did you have any sense, did you get any idea of what this serial might have been about that they were bookending here?
So they talked about, because the inspiration for the story is that they see a Viking hat and they're like,
look, we found this on the beach that day. Don't you remember? I wonder how it got here.
Again, a thing that they're not as frightened about this as I feel that they should be. And then they talk about, I guess in 1000 BC, which we are 14... Are we in the millions or the billions? I think we're in the millions.
I think we're in the millions now, yeah.
Yeah. So there's will have happened with Vikings and Saxons, and then they mention a meddling monk, and the way that they say that, I'm like, that can't have been a not racist thing that they did. There had to be something wrong with it. So I imagine whatever the journey was, it was probably a problematic one.
Possibly. I mean, there's problematic stuff throughout the 60s. I think the meddling monk, I don't think it's problematic. It's a fun one.
So I watched it relatively recently when I was doing my rewatch with Laser, and the thing that struck him most about it was all because it's the 1960s. All of the actors who are supposed to be playing these farmers and peasants and things are still talking with received pronunciation, yes, I went to British acting school. I'm a farmer. I move bales of hay for a living. Have you heard of this?
Hello, how do you do? Top of the morning to you. I am a farm man.
Yeah. They hadn't really gotten to the point of we have to hire people with different accents in order to get those different accents.
Right.
I remember when Downton Abbey was coming out, I was watching an episode with my mom, and we were watching something it was with one of the maids. My mom was like, "Oh, that she has the same accent as your granny," and I looked at her and said, "I think that's why that lady's playing a maid." because we don't have rich people accents. We have maid accents.
But the BBC in the 60s was like, nope, everyone sounds posh all the time.
Will not. We can't just let them go.
Their clothes are strange. If they're travelers...
Travelers with no provisions or belongings, and travel from where?
And it gives off massive Jackie Daytona vibes. So I was trying to remember the name. Hello. Of course, we're talking about a story that hasn't happened yet, as far as you're concerned, you Philistines.
Yeah.
They will have happened. I'm going to assume that they are the same age, if not older, when this happens.
Mandy, I'm going to blow your mind. They are about 58 years younger.
I thought you were going to blow my mind and tell me that they're 58 and be like, wow, British people don't age well.
They're 27 in this.
Oh, no. Oh, like I would expect you don't have the sun, and yet you need so much sunscreen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we need sunscreen.
Because there's no sun?
Because if we get even a brief glimmer of sun, we start to just evaporate like we're looking into the Ark of the Covenant. Fortunately, we only get it in short bursts, so it's basically fine.
Right.
Can I talk about the Remember TARDIS set for a minute? I'm sure you've
Please
talked
do,
about it
yeah.
before. So when these Tales of the TARDIS episodes dropped, I want to say in October of last year, I believe, is when they dropped.
I think it was
September,
November.
October. Okay, well then, fuck me, I guess.
Yeah, fuck you.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
Don't say anything for the rest of the podcast.
Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and mute my mic. Give me 1 second.
I'm leaving all of this silence in, even on the audio feed. It's going to be great.
It's bad. It's awful. So the Remember TARDIS, when all the Tales of the TARDIS episodes dropped last year, I remember thinking, this set is very small and it feels a little bit cramped and a little claustrophobic, but this is a low-budget thing. It's going straight onto the BBC iPlayer. They're just making these little bookends. It doesn't make sense for them to throw, chunks of Disney money at this set to make it big and grand and more TARDIS-like. So,
Sure.
You know what? It's fine. It's cramped, but it's fine. And then we see it in The Legend of Ruby Sunday in the 2024 season, I should say, sorry.
Yeah.
And it's exactly the same. And it's like, oh, you spent all your money making a big CG dog, didn't you? You spent all of your money on Sutek and his Dust of Death, and you had £27 left over in which to make the Remembered TARDIS.
Yeah.
They had to spend all that money putting jackets and watches and hats in there. You got jacket and watch and hat money?
Obviously, yes, I have a jacket and a watch and a hat.
That Ben specifically lent to the production company for the Remembered TARDIS set.
I'm still waiting for them to send back my sonic screwdrivers.
So which apologies, Becca, for me trying to ask about the future.
Sure.
That I should not know about. But
Right.
which Doctor will these people have been around?
These people will have been around the first Doctor.
Okay.
Yeah. Which,
I didn't know if it was the first. I figured it was like the first or the second because the watch is what they go to. I did enjoy the this can't be right because what's all this bullshit here?
Hi. I'm about to throw the entire Stitches in Time project into disarray, and I think Becca may be about to make a new spreadsheet.
Oh no.
Because in order for Hartnell to be the first Doctor, he would have to be the first Doctor to have appeared on the show.
Oh my gosh.
But he's not.
That's true.
He's, at this point, I want to say at least the 5th or 6th.
You know what? I have this written down somewhere. Hang on. Okay, Matt Smith is the first Doctor.
Yeah, Matt Smith's the first Doctor.
David Tennant's the second. William Hartnell's the third Doctor.
Oh, okay. So this is so they're with the third Doctor, William Hartnell. Wait, where's Tom Baker?
Okay, Shooty is fourth.
Okay,
Davison is fifth. That's good.
I thought one of them had to be perfectly aligned.
And Colin Baker is sixth.
Colin Baker is sixth. That's back to back. Good.
Peter Capaldi is seventh.
Okay, still Scottish. That kind of works.
Mm-hmm. wait. Okay, hang on. What is Peter Capaldi is 7th, I said, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, then we've got Jodie Whittaker as the 8th Doctor.
Perfect.
David Bradley as the 9th Doctor.
I'll take that.
Paul McGann as the 10th Doctor.
10th Doctor, yep.
Sylvester McCoy as the 11th Doctor. That's all, by the way, that's all from The Power of the Doctor.
Amazing. Well, they don't appear in order in Power of the Doctor, but they,
right.
and it's also
I
not
have them in the order that they appear.
Okay, good.
Because the opening credits of Stitches in Time are in order of appearance.
Yes.
And then Tom Baker's the next one. I don't remember what numbers
Is it the
12th?
I
just said. Yeah, the 12th, I think. Which is wild. And that's as far as we've gotten. That brings us up to... Oh, wait, no, hang on. Tom Baker was in... Hang on. I mean, none of this matters.
I mean, this is crucial because we have to renumber the Doctors to suit your nonsense, gibberish perspective on the Doctor Who broadcast order.
Yeah, true.
So from this point onwards, you have to refer to the Doctors by the appropriate, and I'm sure what you consider to be correct numbering.
Yeah.
How come? Here's the thing. Hi, Becca. Hi. I love you so much. You're one of my best friends. Why the fuck didn't you think about this from the beginning?
I honestly did and hoped no one would bring it up.
Hey, Ben.
Thanks, Ben.
I can't remember the names of the people of the clip that I have just watched. Do you think I'm going to remember these numbers? I barely remember which numbers they actually are.
Well, then this will be a lot more fun for you.
The only reason why I know that David Tennant is 10 because it's in his name, and then I work backward.
Here's what I like. I think you have been watching Doctor Who in chronological order from the Big Bang through to the heat death of the universe is like playing Doom on Kill Me Plenty. It is a challenging difficulty level, not too difficult. Editing was obviously a challenge,
right.
But talking about it is fine. Me throwing the wrench in of you have to now go by the new Doctor numbering, that takes it up to ultra-violence. I may have been playing a lot of Doom over the last couple of weeks.
You have not stopped playing. You're either playing Doom or you're watching a YouTube video
There's a
about
YouTuber
Doom.
who just talks about like how the game engine works, and I've become obsessed with just watch. I'll send you the link afterwards. But they do these wonderful like analysis videos breaking down how things in Doom work and why they work that way. And how they can be also exploited for things like speedruns and deathmatch games and things like that.
Amazing.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is the third Doctor, William Hartnell.
Yeah.
We're discussing the third Doctor for an adventure that is surprisingly not as problematic.
So, has the John Pertwee Tales of the TARDIS popped up in the edit yet?
No, we've had Earthshock and Vengeance on Varos.
Okay.
Have we had any Pertwee?
I don't think so.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Pertwee, I think, might be the last Doctor in the order. We'll find
He
out.
might be.
He might be the 18th Doctor. So the reason I ask is that I forget which story was the Pertwee Tales of the TARDIS, but both the Pertwee Tales of the TARDIS and the Hartnell Tales of the TARDIS end with the implication that their Doctor arrives, but we don't see them. And it's just that shot of Vicki like looking like straight down barreling down the camera while we hear that impish Hartnell laugh.
Yeah, the laugh that I have sometimes heard myself doing on this podcast involuntarily because it's also my laugh.
Yes, it's the exact same laugh.
Oh dear.
Now, please stop bothering me. Yes.
I
oh
did
no, my
really,
boy.
Within the Stitches in Time things, it does make sense that it's Hartnell because the one thing that I thought was a reference was them being like, oh, maybe he's watching us right now.
I bet he's watching us on the monitor somewhere. Doctor? Doctor? Come out, wherever you are.
and they show like a kind of like a camera,
Yeah.
like a black and white camera view, which reminded me of that one episode where they all go crazy and there's looking at the camera outside. It's like the
Oh,
camera's
yes.
showing terrifying things outside, and this time it's showing terrifying
Mm.
things, but it's the memory TARDIS is the terrifying thing.
Maybe is that scene being broadcast to the TARDIS when it's malfunctioning in the edge of
Yeah.
destruction?
Yeah, and they're just drinking milk and being very frightened.
I also drink milk and then get very frightened, but that's because I'm lactose intolerant.
Yeah. Ben, so
it was the Three Doctors was the Pertwee one, which is also not just Pertwee, which maybe is why you forgot which one was the Pertwee one.
Yes.
Ben, if
Yes.
you were on the TARDIS, would you have water or milk? Those are the two options.
If I have lactate, I would go for the milk. If I don't
Right.
have lactate, I would go for
I
the
do
milk.
want to. We don't know what it milked. I want to reiterate, we still don't know what it milked.
The TARDIS is infinite. There could just be a guy back there. Grapple with those implications, Mandy.
You know, Russell T. Davies has said that, like, oh, the bi-generation, like, rippled back through time and every Doctor bi-generated.
Yeah.
Is that just a pre-Hartnell Doctor in the back getting milked? Like, is that Joe Martin just...
Oh,
My
horrible.
generation
Oh, no.
rippled back, and now they're used for milking.
From the old Gallifreyan proverb, get milked, idiot.
I'm pretty sure we've written somebody's porn.
Yeah.
This is gonna be up on AO3 soon enough, if not already.
Please don't tag us.
Yeah.
Or do, whatever.
It's probably not Joe Martin. It's probably like Christopher Barry or somebody, one of the Morbius guys.
Can't spell Morbius without milk if you spell milk horribly wrong. Or Morbius. It's got an M and an I in it. If you break the R, it becomes a K.
Harvey Morbius.
Harvey Morbius.
You can break basically any letter and make it a lowercase L. So I think
boom.
I think we're solid.
We did it. Hey, we nailed it, everyone. Good job.
Holy
We'll go ahead and
cow.
clock out. We've done all my work for the day, so I'm just gonna head home.
I did like the thing that stuck out to me most from this episode was when Stephen is like looking at the Sixth Doctor's coat, and he's just like,
This might not be his TARDIS. I mean, can you imagine the Doctor wearing something like this?
and then like I felt him also add to that in his brain. We were filming in black and white back in those days. Why would we need something so colorful and ridiculous?
Well, it's one of those, like, on a black and white camera, it looks totally normal.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like have the Daleks have to be like slightly blue or something to show up properly on those.
Yeah,
cameras.
like the Addams Family house is pink mostly because of the colors that work on it. So that just looks like a normal tweed in black and white.
The novelization of The Day of the Doctor suggests that the first and second Doctors were colorblind, and that's why 60s Doctor Who is in black and white.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Also, I would accept that as canon, except for Mission to the Unknown is also in black and white, and the Doctor's not in that episode.
Yeah, but he's thinking about it.
I don't like. I
That's
wouldn't
true.
say that that's the Doctor, because I don't think the Doctor is our point of view character.
All of the companions from the first and second Doctor happen to be colorblind.
Before you can get on the TARDIS, he just shows you that thing, like, hey, what number do you see here? Okay, what number do you see here?
So obviously it's
Okay, come aboard.
31. Oh, no.
No.
You have to go. Or welcome aboard. I'm not sure.
That's
which way
not a
we're
number,
doing this.
Doctor. That's just a bunch of dots.
So El Sandifer takes the position that that William Hartnell was the only actor to play a character called the Doctor, and when he reappeared in the Three Doctors in 72, that's the only time he played the First Doctor, because the concept of the First Doctor didn't exist until Troughton stepped onto the scene, and there was that very first the renewal. Wasn't even called a regeneration.
Yeah. I'm wearing this hood because we're talking about the Time Meddler, and it's the closest thing I have to a monk thing is this hooded cape that I bought at the Ren Fair. And it's fucking hot, so I'm gonna take it off. I think you both had the right move of removing your headwear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did choose the Mickey ears because it's the closest thing I had to a space helmet for a cow. So, Mandy, what do you think happens next? Obviously, the last shot is Hartnell arriving on the TARDIS. It's Vicki barreling down the camera, looking at Hartnell. We hear that impish laugh. And then I guess I think we see asteroids next. No, it's Tom Baker next. But what sneak peek for next week's episode, listeners?
I mean, what happens next is actually it's Tom Baker, and I assume kicks them out because they're not there anymore.
Yeah.
But ignoring the fact that I have watched what we are watching next week, clearly what's going to happen is the first Doctor will arrive in here and go, "What the hell are y'all doing? I was out. Why did you break into this place? I didn't invite you. Please leave." There's a reason why I haven't talked to any of y'all, and it's because clearly you're very rude people who will just, I wasn't home. Why did you just show up
Haven't you ever
here?
heard of text messages?
Seems pretty straightforward. And yet, here we are.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, here we are. Cool. I think what happens is Hartnell immediately kills them.
So I've talked about this a little bit before, but the thing you were saying about thinking this is just like a normal low budget set, and then it turns out no, it's in the series, season finale. Because originally I didn't have any of the Tales of the TARDIS stuff as like canon, because I was like, it seems like it's taking place sort of in their heads across different times and stuff, and it feels like
the River Song Paternoster Clara Oswald conference call in the end of Name of the Doctor, or the beginning of the Name of the Doctor,
which is also not in Citizen Time for that reason. Then we saw the season finale, and I was like, I guess all the Tales of the TARDIS stuff is canon, so that's why I had to kind of shove all this stuff in here last minute. And yeah, the random number generator really hates me for no reason. It's just really,
I mean, not as much as it hates Peter Davidson.
True.
It hates Peter Davidson, and I would say that it hates these people just because it gives me no context of other than even the Doctor doesn't care to see you.
Brilliant.
He's watching them from a monitor somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, actually, William Hartnell was supposed to appear in this Tales of the TARDIS, but he had to call out sick, so all of his lines were given to Stephen.
I hate you so
No, you
much.
don't. You really don't.
I really don't. You're actually great.
Yeah. So are you.
Oh, thanks.
I believe you find that he gave all his lines to Paul.
Paul also had to call out sick.
Paul McCartney.
Paul Fry.
Paul Fry.
Now I want
Paul
some fries.
Davidson.
Paul Fries. Paul Bearer. Here's the one thing I want to know is, what is the Remember TARDIS doing with these people when they're done talking about the story?
I think it's just absorbing them.
I don't know, because the Vengeance on Varus one, the Sixth Doctor and Perry were like, let's go on more adventures. How does it, what is that? Are we in the same realm of reality? Okay.
Okay, so we know
Did all the
that's
companions also bi-generate through history?
We know that, like, the memory TARDIS, it's being sustained on these memories. That's why we're having these memories. It kind of needs it to feed. We already showed that Perry and the Sixth Doctor, they're controlling it, and they're draining the memories of these people. They're sucking the brains out of them so that they can go on their silly little adventures.
So is that why we had two more in a row just now that were just like, oh, we need more memories. They're draining the power, like that kind of.
And we also, like, this is the first time, like, that was the first time that I had seen Perry and the Sixth Doctor. We hadn't seen the Sixth Doctor before that, had we?
No, we have not.
So any adventure with them afterward, they are not in the TARDIS. They have taken the memory TARDIS, and that's what they're living off of, and they're getting the fuel of it, so that all of their adventures that presumably we will see will be from them draining all of the other ones. They've selfishly just taken the life force out of everyone else.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited. I'm excited to see how that unfolds.
There should be a Stitches in Time Tales of the TARDIS where Mandy and I are just on the remembered TARDIS and we're like, remember the entire life cycle of the universe? And then it plays all 21 days of Stitches in Time. And then it comes back and it's like, yeah, wild times. Now we have all the power in the universe.
When are we going to get a Tales of the TARDIS about the TV movie?
That's the dream.
You'd have to get. Here's the thing: you'd have to get clearance from Universal to use the character of Grace Holloway or Chang Li.
Can I pitch what I want? Because I want that so bad, but I just want Will Sasso in a room by himself.
You
just
want
Will Sasso.
Just standing there and he goes, "Oh my god!" And then it just cuts to the TV movie. Brilliant.
I want it to be Sylvester McCoy learning about his own death.
And at the end, he's just like, "Oh, that's fucked up. Oh no." I guess that would be the way of getting around it, would be to have McCoy and McGann sitting together talking about it.
Yeah.
Or McGann and Eric Roberts.
Yes.
That's because
but it's not Eric Roberts as the master.
Oh,
it's Eric Roberts as the guy before he got taken over by the master.
Ambulance. Yeah. Bruce is his name.
Bruce. I feel like Bruce and Professor Yana should have like a sitcom together.
And it's called Vicious. And it's not Bruce, it's Ian McKellen.
Great.
It's a real show. The end. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for everyone for listening to this week's episode of this podcast. I'm sorry.
Thanks for listening to Stitches in Time. Music by Becca the Matrix Archivist. Art by Mandy Ukendo. Logo by Ben Paddon. Find us on the web at www.stitchesintie.me. Stitches in Time, but with a dot in the middle of the word time.
I like that you're ending it for us. You have decided that we are done. The guest has decided that we're over.
We do not actually have to end. I was doing a fun goof 'em up bit.
I mean, I'm happy to call it there because I literally have nothing else to say about Tales of the TARDIS.
When I left the Doctor, I did become a king, you know.
Ben, I believe this episode comes out the same day as episode 1 of Good Chaotic.
Yeehaw.
So where can people find that?
Good
They
Chaotic...
can't, because they're going to be listening to this.
Right.
And then, so keep listening to this. And then you can listen to, you do still need to listen to this one, though. I need to make that very clear. And you can listen to that afterward.
Good Chaotic can be found in any of your favorite podcatcher applications, if that's the kind of thing that you like to do with your life, is search for podcasts on podcasting apps.
And it's the sort of thing that you should like doing.
Yeah, we're delightful.
After listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
And it's delightful. If you liked the game of Rassilon, and if you're not familiar with the game of Rassilon, we spent 5 seasons playing the Doctor Who role-playing game in the actual play style. If you liked that, it's the same crew, but now we are doing our own thing with our own characters and IP that we own. TM.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I have been hearing little snippets of details about it. I heard the trailer recently, which is very good. I'm really excited to listen to it. And Ben, I hope you will join us next week when we're going to be talking about The Creature from the Pit. Just part 1.
Yay.
And just a small scene.
We're gonna fall in a pit.
From it.
Yay!
We're gonna fall in a pit.
Yeah.
It's Parks and Rec. We're gonna watch the first season of Parks and Rec.
in the pit.
What it is Perry and the Sixth Doctor dug the pit to trap people so they can consume their memories. Obviously, that's what happens. That goes without saying.
Troilus and I gave it all up to grow olives in the hills. I'm a farmer now.
You look great on it.
Wish.
No, you do, Vicky.
I am also recording. Actually, I need to adjust the height of the mic stand. Actually, I might need to adjust the gain as well because wow, this is
Ben. I believe it's pronounced height.
okay. Well, we had a good friendship once. Okay.
But yes, I do remember that helmet. And I remember how hard you kept on trying to prove to me that the TARDIS was a time machine.
And we were talking about the Time Meddler first, right?
Yeah, well,
Yes.
not. We're talking about people talking about.
Right, of course. Excuse me. I'm so sorry.
No, we're doing season 1 of Blake 7. I watched the whole thing this morning. Is that not what we're?
I mean, you can talk about that. We'll be talking about Tales of the TARDIS. And as usual, I just encourage none of us to go on any tangents whatsoever.
Yeah, we can bash this out in about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
No, I don't regret one single minute of that. But the Doctor was so special.
Mandy, for I mean, this won't help you with Stitches in Time, but for the BBC order, the people, you also have forgotten the other Doctor who has his number in his name, Sylvester McCoy.
Sylvester McCoy.
Sylvester.
Well, it's
anyway.
Will 1M Hartnell.
Oh, you're just replacing the letters in their names with the numbers. It's one Liam Hartnell,
David Tooten,
Patrick Tooten.
Oh, sorry, Patrick Tooten, John Pert 3, Tom Bakeford, Peter Dave
Fivesen.
E. Fiveson, Peter Dat 5 Ison. The V is the 5.
Wouldn't you make the S the 5?
I was going by Roman numerals for the comedy value, but that's
Oh,
also
yeah.
fine. Peter Dave E 5 on is fine also. Colin 6 Acre.
Yeah.
The O in Colin is
Yes.
6.
Sylvenon McCoy.
Sylvester.
Sylvester McCoy.
I really like Sylvester.
Paul McGate.
Sure.
Which is also what I said when I saw him in his Night of the Doctor costume for the first time. Oh, Paul McGate.
Christopher Eccleston.
David Tennant.
Matt Smith, but he's got 2 eyes in Smith, and they're both 11.
The ones, yeah.
They're the ones.
Peter 12 Paldy. David
really
14
falling
and
apart
no, sorry, David 14 and comes after Jode 13 Whitaker.
Jode 13iker.
Job 13.
Yes. David 14 and
Mm-hmm.
and then and Ncuti Gatwa.
Flawless.
There's a 15
Flawless.
in there, just silent.
Yeah.
It's right next to the N.
Yeah. This is before the end.
Oh.
Or he thought it was silent, and then his mom yelled at him because actually it wasn't silent the whole time.
That was such a funny video.
Yes.
I love that so much.
Which I found to be very relatable because I also did not know how to pronounce my last name until I was in like the 4th grade.
I remember being very proud the day I figured out how to spell my last name. I remember writing it down and being like, yeah.
Ooh.
I was applying for a mortgage. And
Did not get approved.
did not get approved. 5-year-olds can't get mortgages.
Yeah.
It turns out.
I remember being very proud when I wrote down my first name for the first time. But it's not my name anymore.
Yeah. I also didn't know how to spell my middle name for a long time because it was Caitlin, and it's not spelled at all in the way that I've ever seen Caitlin spelled. I see 2 main ways, and it's neither of those ways.
I'm so curious now. I'm not trying to dox you, Mandy, but I have to know.
I also have to know your social security number and mother's maiden name.
Yeah. So just, I think the easiest thing is just say it on this podcast, and maybe I'll remember to edit it out. We'll find.
David Tennant.
The Doctor has got to be here somewhere. He's as much a part of the TARDIS as this is.
He's more than that, Stephen. He's part of us.
I feel like that felt relevant when I started saying the sentence, and now it's gone. It's just
Welcome
vanished.
to Stitches in Time.
Yeah.
Relevance is a myth.
Can we edit this episode of the podcast into chronological order?
By when we talk about it, yeah, it's gonna be super easy, actually. With the exception of every time that I stick something after the end credits.
I'm going to do a chronological order edit of The Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson, because they would always shoot the cold open after they shot the opening monologue. So it's just switching those two around every time. Problem solved. Boom.
Perfect.
Yeah, easy peasy.
I'm going to edit 24 into chronological order.
Feeling good about yourself?
Never.
No, I understand that.
Why
I
would I?
100% get that feeling.